Hi folks, and welcome back to Meaningful Money. Decided to do just one more here before it starts to rain anymore. Anyway, a little bit of drizzle in the air, just to finish off. And we're going to talk about the rest, if you like. We've been dealing with asset classes, we've looked at all sorts, but now we're just going to finish it off with the last few little bits. So before we do though, let me say thank you to my friends down here in the bottom right as ever. That's Seven Investment Management, who continue to sponsor me, for which I'm really, really grateful. So we're just going to cover off the last few asset classes and then round up. So first one we're going to talk about is private equity. Now, private equity is investment in startup companies as a rule. Think of sort of Dragon's Den, if you like, right? It's either that or it can be distressed companies. So companies that are very close to going under and perhaps can be bought cheaply. Perhaps then a private equity manager might put in a new managing director and try and get them to turn that company around. It's very, very risky investment. Perhaps 1 in 10 private equity investments will come off, but very often those that do come off very big, and so there's obviously money in it. So you think private equity, you might think about small technology companies in Silicon Valley or something like that. Of course, it's much wider than that, but generally speaking, you need big money to be excuse me, part of the private equity thing. So, but you can do so via collectives, funds, if you know where to look. So that's private equity, high risk, but can be potentially very high reward. The next is timber. What is timber? Well, it's wood. Obviously, not a lot else to say about it, except that it's quite closely linked to particularly the American housing market. Most American houses are made out of wood, apparently. So if there's an American housing boom going on, chances are the price of timber will go up. It's a commodity really, but quite often is perhaps reported on separately from the wider commodities. So yeah, it's a commodity, it's wood. That's basically it. You might also hear about investment in infrastructure. This is investments in airports, toll roads, bridges, mobile phone and internet networks. Of course, in the established economies here in the West, we've got lots of those things, but in the emerging markets, they're putting airports and bridges and mobile phone networks in like nobody's business. And so there's big money to be made in that area, again, if you know what you're doing. You can invest either in the physical things, so perhaps in a toll road or something, or the company that runs the toll road, or more often than not, the companies that build or make these things. So infrastructure is a subset of equities usually, but it's a useful asset class in its own right. So those three things really I just wanted to finish off. And so we've covered cash, gilts, corporate bonds, shares, property, commodities, gold, private equity, timber and infrastructure. 10 different asset classes, and that isn't it. There are other ones as well, but they're perhaps a bit more esoteric and not really needed to go into any detail here. The art of putting those together into a portfolio which makes you money is called asset allocation. I shouldn't really call it an art. I personally believe it's far more of a science than an art. Certainly I don't want an artist looking after my money. They can tend to be a little bit flighty and a bit flaky. I want a scientist. I want discipline and structure. And that, I believe, is how portfolios should be put together in that process called asset allocation. So do that on your own if you feel able to. I don't feel able to, and I'm supposed to be qualified to do this stuff. We don't do that for our clients, as it happens. We ask, in our case, more often than not, Seven Investment Management to do it, other fund managers too. So don't take it on lightly, but hopefully you know enough now about all the little bits, the sort of building blocks, if you like, of a portfolio, that you can at least give that some thought. All right, I've no idea what we're going to talk about next. Probably should have planned that before filming, but never mind. Join me for it, whatever that's going to be. And thanks for watching this one. I'll see you next time.